Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I'm sitting here today with my nephew, David. Your dad comes on the video every now and then. His name is also David, so it's like there's a trend there.
I'm the better looking one.
Better looking one, right. I have tried to call you Trip your entire life, and it never took. Because Grandpa Dave, your dad, your Trip. But in this video, I want to talk about what it's like to buy rentals today. I reached financial freedom after investing for about 10 years, retired in 2022 with a portfolio that makes it to where I never have to work again. You are a bit younger than me, and you started investing. When did you acquire your first property? Not your rental, the property.
I acquired about seven years ago.
7 years ago, and this is 2024, so 2000.
It was in the middle of the Trump, the first.
Middle of Trump, so 2017, 2018, somewhere in there?
Around there.
Okay. And you bought it in Washington State. Okay.
Yep.
How much did you buy it for?
$55,000.
$55,000. So in 2017, 18, most houses in Washington State cost $300,000 or $400,000. How did you find one that cost 50 grand?
Oh, I glued myself to all the websites, Redfin and what is that other one? Zillow.
Redfin, Zillow.
Like religiously, like day in, day out type stuff.
Okay.
And then when I found it, I called my local realtor and we worked out something and actually got it pretty quick. The thing was, it was like a day after someone actually purchased it, which was kind of, didn't feel very good. But, and then when that fell through, the next day we went and we got filled out the paperwork and it was almost immediately, it was one of those HUD homes. And they're very, very particular about paperwork. So pay attention to that one.
Okay, so it's a HUD home. Somebody else bought it, which means it went under contract with somebody else purchasing it. And then when it fell through, how did they know you wanted to buy it?
Well, I just stayed on the sites. As soon as it popped back up for a new listing, because as soon as someone actually acquires it, it goes on to pending status. And then once pending falls through, it goes back to new status. And then all of a sudden it's broadcasted everywhere. So as soon as we saw that, we made the phone call that minute, that second, and we put in our request, and all of a sudden it was ours.
Okay.
It was shocking.
So for people watching, this is about how half of my portfolio was acquired. Very, very similar. So I would watch for deals that I wanted to buy, and I would make an offer, and usually I'd get outbid. Somebody else would offer to pay more or have a more attractive looking offer. And then it goes under contract with someone else. Instead of waiting for it to go away and then come back, I would reach out and tell my agent to send a letter, an email saying, my offer still stands in case that falls through. So then it comes back to you without having to wait for it to come on. But that's cool that you were watching it every day to know that that happened and you can make the offer. And you kind of said something really quick I want to dig into a little bit. You talked with your realtor and you worked something out. What does that mean?
Well, what actually turned out is he screwed up on the paperwork. And with a HUD home, you need to be absolutely perfect on the paperwork, because if one thing gets out of place, it's garbage. You have to start anew. Well, when that happened, someone else put in an offer. And they went about it that way, so their paperwork was perfect, and they probably cried too damn much because the house needed a little bit of work. And we all know some people don't like that. So, yeah, that guy right there.
I'm too lazy.
So
that's the question. It's a HUD home, which generally people will buy with something like an FHA loan.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but it needs to be. How did you buy it? What kind of loan did you use?
Okay, well, I had all these opportunities to do something, but the real estate agent took over small loans. Like if something was below like maybe 75,000 or something like that, they'd offer you the loan at a ridiculously low price because they get their money back through the interest if you get a loan through them, and usually it's higher than all of their fees that they charge you. Well, he got pissed off. I paid it off ridiculously quick, and he got angry.
So pay attention. This isn't in 1990. This isn't in 1980. This was less than 10 years ago. Found an agent that would make offers on deals, that was also a private money lender.
Mm-hmm. Small time.
Okay.
Right.
Now, some people would go, well, of course you're going to do a private money lender. What'd they do? Charge you 27% interest, which I know the numbers. I know that's not true. What was your interest rate?
4%.
4%. Okay. In 2018, I purchased a property and my loan through a bank was 6%. It's like 6.4%. So 4% was good for the time. You got a loan for less than $100,000, which many lenders won't do. You did private money through your real estate agent who was happy to make the money through the transaction and the 4%. And then you paid it off quickly.
Well, the minimum payment was $200.
Right. So this is the thing. You're in a state where most houses cost 400,000. They're much more than that now. And you found one that was 58. It needed some work. What kind of work did it need?
It needed new floors, needed new paint, just the normal wear and tear maintenance. I replaced the doors; those were falling through. Nothing too extreme, actually, shockingly. But once that all got done, I only had one leg at the time. It was actually quite interesting. I busted my knee, and I was climbing up and down ladders, hanging drywall with one leg. When a cop showed up, that was actually fun. At the time, the cops were doing their roundabout ways just to make sure that no one was breaking into a house and stuff like that. So they asked for my credentials, and I told them to hang on to a drill while I hobbled off the little ladder, and they were taken back by that. It was actually quite funny.
So that's another thing to consider. What would you say about the neighborhood you purchased in?
Well, the neighborhood didn't quite have a good reputation in the earlier years of the neighborhood. It's called the Nisqually Pines.
Which is where they say they built a fence around it to keep the trash in, right?
Well, let's just
Back
say
in the day.
it didn't have the best rapport in the early years.
And how is it now?
Shockingly, it flipped around and it's doing real well. So it was a good investment, actually.
So this is the benefit of knowing your market, living in Yelm, Washington your entire life, pretty much knowing that this area was improving. It had seen some bad times, but it started to be cleaned up. So you knew, it's almost like legal insider trading. You knew the market that area was going to get better, so you purchased there. You do the work yourself, and a lot of people when they're brand new and they hear you had to do flooring, you had to replace doors, you had to do things. Those aren't big jobs. When you say flooring, did you put in flooring or did you have to replace subfloor?
The linoleum in the kitchen was still in decent shape. It had no carpet, so I had to get new carpet, and I had that professionally installed. Put whole new trim, painted and stuff like that. So it's just all minor stuff. But for the price, you could not pass it up.
And I've talked in a few videos about the deck that you made. It was very impressive. A lot of good craftsmanship went into that. So you do have some skills that did make it a little easier to buy a place, do some of the work yourself.
That increased the value of the property probably tenfold.
So rough estimate, what's that property worth now?
Well, the Zestimate has it roughly about $395,000. I could probably sell it for about $400,000, give or take on the good days. But from 55 to 350, that's huge in just what, six years time?
How much do you think you spent on repairs?
Oh, on just repairs, I would probably say, maybe, well, carpet. Okay, that's a big one. I would say roughly about $6,000 on repairs, not counting the porches and putting in the fences to increase the value and make it look just that much better.
If there are any questions, put them in the chat. I have an assistant here today who will point out any questions as they pop up. I normally can't see them on my phone, but we will today. And if you want your questions answered during a live stream, remember every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, I do live streams that last as long as the questions do. So it's worth about 4. You paid a little over 50. You put about 6 into it. So that's a significant increase in money, which you have not refinanced money out.
No, it's
in there. So it's paid off. Because you are not you moved out of Washington into Texas because you like the political climate. You have a daughter. You wanted to be in a better school area.
Yep.
The property is now rented out. So you have acquired your first rental by buying a place that you live in, and you do the work while you're living there. Okay, this is a form of house hacking, right? You buy your house to live in it with the ultimate goal of turning it into a rental, this being your first rental. So you move to Texas and you purchase a house. How much is the place in Washington currently rented out for?
It's currently rented out for $2,000 a month.
Okay, and you live in Texas, so are you self-managing this or do you have a property manager?
I have a property manager.
The same one your dad just fired recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so hopefully they're paying a little more attention to you in case they watch this video, do a good job. How much do they make every month?
Okay, they take out 7.5% between 7 and 7.5.
So about 140 bucks, 150 bucks.
$185 out of 2,000.
Okay.
So
And have they had to do any big repairs to it while you're in Texas?
nope.
No, so not really any big repairs. You're here for a couple of weeks doing some work yourself. I saw you did some tree trimming because you're stupid and that's what you guys do.
just
is you
the-
tree work.
That is right.
Yeah.
That's where the money's at.
Money grows on trees in my family, unless you're me, you join the Marines because it's easier. And so you're doing the work now, you're here just taking care of it, also seeing your dad. It's rented for 2,000. The property manager gets 100, almost 200-ish. So about 1,800. What do you do with that money?
I save it. I put it in a savings account, and I've only taken out just the property taxes out of it. So I got roughly a little over 20,000 sitting in there just from that. So I hadn't need to touch that. Gonna leave that alone so I can actually invest into more housing down there in Texas.
Do we have a question, Chesla? No, okay, I thought you were trying to get my attention. So you're saving the money. A lot of people talk about getting their first rental and making $100 or $200 a month, but you didn't do that while you were living there, right? You were basically paying to live somewhere. You paid it off, it had an expense. Once it was paid off, you get it rented out. It's now rented at $2,000 a month. 1,800 or so minus property taxes, which on that place is probably what, 3,000 a year, 2,000 a year?
$2,182.
2000. Okay, so Washington property taxes aren't so bad. You move to Texas, you buy your property there. This is kind of like a forever home, plenty of acres. You're going to build a shop, you can do all this stuff. The reason I wanted to make this video is you now want to acquire your next rental. What's the plan for that?
Okay, well, we moved down there about a year ago, and my intention was to save up enough to start putting on down payments towards multiplexes or single-family homes. This is not the market down there in Texas for single-family homes to turn them around to become profitable for rental-wise. So we're looking more of what my uncle does with multiplexes, and with what multiplexes does down there, it allows you more opportunities to open with a little bit less to put down on them, so you can actually save up more for either repairs down there, or you can apply it to something else, maybe 6 months down the line, rather than waiting a whole year or two to acquire your next one. So you do that, but since I have to go about it a different kind of route than how he does it, I have to, since I don't quite have the funds, let's put it that way, then this guy, I actually have to
Because
do
I've
it a
always
different
been
route.
rich, right? You don't remember rolling coins at my house to go watch a movie?
No, I don't remember that one at all. I remember
that
quite a few other things.
Huh? Okay. You survived. You lived.
That's why I have one leg.
That's actually accurate. So you're in what you would call a lower cost area, so that prices of the properties don't cost as much as they do in Washington. So you can acquire more faster with less money down.
Well, what people don't quite understand about Texas is, even though the housing market may seem cheaper, they really nail you on the property taxes. So you really have to do your research on where you're looking and where you're actually going to try to invest.
So how much did you pay for the house you live in?
Down there, I paid $275,000.
Okay, so and what is the property taxes on it?
1.52%.
How much is it a year about?
Well, down there they have homestead, and they have various other deductions that they can do that Washington does not have, that values a whole lot more. They can actually deduct a whole lot of taxes out of that.
So how much are you paying every year?
For down there,
Get some dental tools to pull these out of your teeth.
well, I just paid it, so $3,152.
So $3,152 down there, but you said Texas destroys you on property taxes. That sounds like it's 2,000 something here, 3,000 something there. It doesn't sound like it's 2,000 here, 10,000 there.
They have certain sections in certain counties. We were actually looking into a certain section which had a great school, like the place you really want to raise your children in. But then again, their taxes are like almost 3%. So the same house that we just bought in that section of the state, it would probably cost us about $8,000 to $9,000 a year in taxes.
So after this video, remind me to tell you why I do not want to buy rentals in good school districts. It's actually kind of a negative. It's a thing that goes against you. Makes you have more tenant turnover, makes your property taxes cost more. I actually would prefer to rent to somebody who has 5 dogs than 1 kid. All of the damage in my rentals has come from kids. except for one time a dog did like $100 worth of damage. So to legally discriminate against families, I try to buy rentals that aren't as attractive to them. If you buy in a good school district, you're more likely to get kids, which is where all your damage is going to come from, and your turnover, because they're only there while they're in school.
Well, the good thing about that, it's a small town outside of San Antonio. So you move inside the city, the houses are roughly between 120 to on up, however big a house you want to buy, but they get you on the city taxes and the property taxes in there. But then again, the good thing when you're actually looking into getting into rentals, you look at what's around the rental area that you can actually put your house in the market for rental wise. In San Antonio, there's 5 huge major military bases. There's hospital districts. There's colleges all over San Antonio. So the markets for actual getting someone into a rental down there is actually quite nice, quite nice.
And just because sometime in the future your dad might watch this video, can you please tell me what the roughest thing of your childhood was? Legally, that wouldn't get him thrown in jail.
Where's that book at? I'm trying to find out what page it was. No, I think it was.
So many to pick from. I know I put you on the spot. You weren't expecting that. It's supposed to be about real estate. I want to know the hardest thing about you growing up with my brother as your dad.
Trying to live up to his standards and always being in a shadow of greatness.
Okay, I can't let him watch this video.
Well, there's this thing. My father is set in his ways. My uncle is set in his ways. I take the best of both worlds and I apply it the way I want to do it. My father, does it the way he does it, and it's very successful. The thing is it's not the markets right now to do what he does. You take my uncle, and more of a higher risk in what he does, but he did it very, very well, and he's turning quite a good profit out of it. But so I try to figure out what he's doing that's really good, and I figure out what my father's doing really good, and what I can do to take the best of both worlds and apply it in my own way to be successful in my area down there in Texas.
That's a brilliant point. What I actually try to do with anybody who watches YouTube is I say, if you watch my content, no one should do 100% of what I do. And if you watch, I've got friends, I don't know if you know this or not, but I actually have friends, like Matt the Lumberjack Landlord and Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time.
How much Millennial did you pay for him?
A lot. I have to bribe them all the time to hang out with me. One guy I had to like narrate a book for him, for Audible, to get him to even spend time with me. No. These are really good friends that I actually make videos with every week. I think somebody should do a version of what you did. Watch Zuber, watch Millennial Mike, watch Matt the Lumberjack Landlord, watch me, and take the best parts of what we do that would fit your strategy. The way you watched your dad, the way you watch me, to make what works for you. Because you shouldn't do what your dad did. Your dad would have you running a tree service, never getting a CDL. I would have you never work in trees at all, and you were doing tree work today that saved you money on your rental. So there's a question from Angel R. I saw it. Very rarely I can see those, so if you see it, just go ahead and let me know. Do you plan on refinancing?
Oh, absolutely. I see. We moved to Texas because I have a 5-year-old daughter. And when we moved to Texas, I wanted her not to be raised up in the school systems in Washington State. Now, that was a huge, huge decision, about 95% of the reason why. So I bought at the wrong time, but the house price was just so perfect. So my interest rate for my mortgage is just so stupid.
What is your rate on your current mortgage in Texas?
Very bad. It's 8.1%.
See? So a lot of people right now have a rate like that, and they say it's unaffordable, but are you making your mortgage payment?
Yes.
Okay.
With truck driving, most of the money that I'm making is being applied to that. And I'm also, I'm a numbers guy. So most of my time I spend in applying money here, allocating money there, just try to save up for stuff here. But that's what the good thing about the rental income of the rental I have up here in Washington is I haven't had to touch it. So as long as you keep allocating money in a specific way and you show that you make it just a little bit more above minimum payment towards a mortgage, your credit's going to skyrocket, your track history is going to be amazing, and then people are going to want to throw money at you once you actually start refinancing. Because what they want to see is, you want to see track history, but they also want to see a bank account that does not fluctuate at all. So that's what I would recommend with that. But I do plan on refinancing, because right now I'm being offered between 4.5 to 6.5%, depending on who I'm talking to, so I can play them against each other to get me what I need for at least 3 to 4 years until, interest rates go back down to 2.4% like it was in 16 and 17.
Yeah, and one of the best ways to get a good interest rate is to do exactly that. Let your lenders know what the others are offering, play them against each other, get the one that's willing to do something to beat the competition. So that's kind of the first half of Angel's question. Do you plan on refinancing? So yes, you're going to refinance to a better rate at some point. Oh, yeah. Are you going to refinance and pull money out, which would mean add more debt to your property, make your payment go up? What's the plan there?
With the amount of money I have sitting in after the rental income and stuff like that, I don't have to play it in that sort of game. Basically, I want a lower interest because I play the long game. I don't play the short game. So when I take out money, I want to get that minimum payment down as much as I can to save $300, $400, $500 of a payment every single month. Even with escrow adding to it, just the amount of money you're going to be saving. Now you take that money, put it back into that account, and you let it just sit there and keep accumulating back into that account, which lenders actually want to see. They want to see account that actually increases rather than decreases or does not fluctuate a lot. They want it to see it just stay there and just slowly increase. And then that's what they want to see. And that's how you get a better track history and a better acceptance to get a loan in the future or multiple loans in the future, is because they can see you are not stupid with your money. You're actually quite smart and you're actually playing it safe. So the long game is more beneficial to the majority.
So as you build that money up in those accounts, would you call it like a reserve? Like you're building money for the down payment, but you're also keeping money in case something breaks?
There's something to that, yes. Now, since I have the house up here, I have a security blanket just in case I have to replace carpets or do paint, stuff like that. So basically,
how much do you keep in that kind of security blanket account?
Well, the biggest thing is when you look at a rental house that somewhat needs work, you look at how much money you spend to get it up to rent ready. So carpets for like a 1,300 square foot home, you're looking at roughly $3,000, depending on who you go to. And then you look at paint, that's what, $500-$600. So basically you save up as much money to repair the stuff in the house that gets damaged the most, like door jams, paint, carpet, stuff like that. So the best rule of thumb is roughly between $8,000 and $10,000. You just want sitting there and hovering per each house you got. Otherwise, you're going to be scrambling to reallocate more money out of like a savings account that you really want to show these lenders that you're really smart with your money. So as long as you have like a separate account for each specific house and you just let it just sit there, it accumulates interest, even though interest sucks. It's what you want to just have that there. And so when you get that, you already have the money sitting there for the repair, so you can do it as fast as you can. Now, once that actually starts depleting, save up some money and you can put it in slowly. Know that you made those like new carpet and paint. It takes time to deteriorate. So
you can refill it
as long
slowly.
as you can refill it, you don't have to do it immediately unless you realize, oh crap, I got to repair a roof in 6 months. And then you're like, well, that sucks because that's very expensive.
And so the idea there is you want money for things that can go wrong. And as your portfolio gets bigger, as you have more properties, you want that money to be bigger because more things can go wrong at the same time.
Exactly. So you actually want to have that little bit of buffer. Now, it might be a little hard to accumulate that buffer when you're just starting out. Believe me, the first house is horrid when you're starting out because you got so much money here. People want money there for escrow. They want money there for signing paperwork and documentation. So you give them your firstborn. It solves everything, right?
I'm sure your dad tried to give you away many times.
That was probably the worst thing that you asked.
Probably. Nobody would take you. It's okay. I think you asked him, am I adopted? And he said, no, nobody would take you. So
That happens too.
you're saving for the next rental. This will be the last question that we kind of wrap this up with. Mm-hmm. How many rentals do you think you would want before you would not have a job?
I just wait for my father to die. Perfect example right there.
That's a perfect answer right there. We don't need any more information than that. Thank you, David, for hanging out with us on this random live stream. Thank you all for hanging out. Congratulations on
the answer is 10 or more.
10 or more. Okay, so
Or
we actually do have an answer.
never ending.
Never ending. So always be buying.
Always buy.
Always buy.
Always look for that next deal.
Or just take your dad out.
Right.